Good morning, gardening friends. Today is Sunday, May 14th, and I'm just walking around in the backyard. Been thinking this week about what to cover, and there is a lot to cover because a lot is happening in the garden. Here you can see by this statue, I went ahead and cleaned up the spiderwort, the wild kind that was really tall, and I've just left the purple. And here you can see the aspidistra that I got that's spreading all over. I'm going to have to cut these back a little, or at least yank them out, but they do spread, so not a big deal, but they do look really nice when they bloom. It's hard to believe they're basically a weed here in zone 8B. One of the reasons I should say some of them get taller than others is they use the fertilizer runoff. I do fertilize all of my bushes, camellias and azaleas and fruit trees with different types of fertilizer, so the runoff gets to the plants around them, and the aspidistra really like it. I haven't shown this recently. This is my Ozark plum that I planted this year, and it's leafing out nicely. That took the place of my Meyer lemon. Still getting some strawberries. I do have to admit one thing. I think I told you all earlier this year about buying some bare root strawberries that I got from a big box store, which will remain nameless. Don't waste your money on buying bare root strawberries from a big box store. Not a single one of them grew. Of course, that's just for me. You may have better luck. Here you can see the tail end of my Easter lilies blooming in the background. My cycad, male cycad cone is still growing. I've got two in the backyard. Oh, and I happened to notice today the pleasant combination on this side of the purple wandering dude and the other flower. I can't think of the name, chrysanthemum, right off the top of my head. The star jasmine is starting to bloom. Tracheospermum jasminoides. See, I can remember that, but not chrysanthemum. Remember the jasminoides part for later on in this walk around. Here you can see the white blossoms of the nandina. It's early in the morning right now. It's a little too early for the bees, and the sun isn't quite up. It's about 6:30. I did go ahead and get rid of the palm that was dying a miserable death here, and I wound up putting in this ponytail palm that has been in the house for the last 2 years, hence the yellow coloration at the top. It is in fairly deep shade, and I did repot it into a larger pot. I can't say enough good things about this. It's either called an elephant foot palm or a ponytail palm. Bocarne recravata, I believe. Believe it or not, it's related to the agaves. So I've got the cousin over there. That is one plant you do have to bring in for the winter, but I'm hoping that I can summer it out here. I may wind up putting another pot underneath it just to raise it up some. It kind of gets lost in the overgrowth, or undergrowth, I should say. My blueberries are really taking off this year. In fact, I had to cut the one down in the middle. It's a shame it gets penalized for doing so well, but I wanted to be able to see my ponytail palm. Everything is just leafing out and growing hand over fist. I did go ahead and do some reseeding in some bare patches, and I see Miss Mimi has been here digging in that. I did notice one thing. These colocasias that I dug up from my garden really do seem to like deep shade, because I put them in that pot and they are growing really well. So I'm going to leave them in the pot, let them get as big as they want to get. And my Nico Blue hydrangea is in bloom. A lot is in bloom today. That's why I had to get a running start. That cutting that I took, which was really broken off the top of that stub, may or may not take, but I'm not going to lose anything by leaving it there or sticking it in the ground and seeing if it'll grow. Another hydrangea fixing to bloom. Oh, I forgot to turn on my fountains. Here's the second of the male cycads in the backyard. Sorry if you heard my stomach growl. I haven't eaten breakfast yet. I did want to show the bananas are really putting out, as they always do. I do not fertilize those. They only get the runoff fertilizer from the palms. Of course, the palms get quite a lot of fertilizer, so that's not an insignificant amount of fertilizer that they get. Here you can see that pot that looks dead. I have another one just like it on the other side. That's where the grape hyacinths were. So that's what those pots are going to look like for the rest of this year. So I may stick them in the back by the garage. Here you can see, oh, seeds are coming up hand over fist. This is my dill that I planted a few weeks ago. Second batch, the ones I started from seed inside the garage, did not do well and wound up dying, so I just seeded in the pot itself. This is turning out to be a nice little plant, and it was just an extra begonia that I had left over when I planted the strawberry pot. I did get some mint for back here, since herbs seem to do okay. We got pineapple sage. I think that's called After 8 mint. Some thyme. Thyme doesn't do really well in zone 8B. I have it in pots, and it gets kind of, well, this is what it looks like. That's about a 3-year-old plant. It just, the heat seems to really take its toll on those plants. My Nepenthes has just gone wild. It's sending out new stalks down from the top, but basically from here on down is all new growth for this year. And you can see all of the new, let's see if I can zoom up on one, all of the new pictures are coming out. That one's still closed, but that one is fully opened. I'm going to be getting rid of these caladiums this week, and what I've decided to do is I always reuse these pots, but I'm going to wind up putting some wandering dude here. Won't cost me anything, because I'll be thinning it anyway. Here's where I put some more of the colocasia. And this colocasia was the one that was in the pot that I used. We played musical pots this week. When I put the ponytail palm in the big pot, this was what was in it. So we had to bump one thing out of one pot and into another. That was the original pot that the ponytail palm was in. Here you can see my seeds have taken off nicely. These are about ready, safe enough to be planted out. They're starting to get a little yellowed. They need a little fertilizer. Maybe I'll fertilize them later today. Borage. And there is a third batch of okra. First batch the birds and or slugs got. The second batch is out in the front yard, and then I planted this. I don't know why I don't like okra that much, but Go figure, every seed I planted sprouted. And here are my green beans. I did learn one thing. I had planted green beans that I had left over from last year, and not a single seed germinated. So at least as green beans go, don't save your seeds more than 1 year. There you can see the caladiums are starting to bloom, and the plumeria is leafing out. Yay! I did notice the leaves are somewhat smaller being in full sun. It's not supposed to be in full sun, and it won't be later in the summer, because as this crepe myrtle leaves out, it'll give it afternoon shade. Right now it doesn't get afternoon shade. Here you can see the strawberry pot is doing well, and these begonias really like that spot. My Sarracenia, glad I did not repot it. It seems to be doing well. I don't fertilize it. I figure in nature it lives in bogs, so I just keep it wet. There's no drainage hole in that pot. Oh, these are my new toad lilies. One of y'all by the name of Thomas made a comment to one of the videos saying you can get these from Walmart. And I did. I got a batch of 3 assorted colors. They came Monday or Tuesday of this week, and I potted them up. And as you can see, something's been digging in that pot. As you can see, they've sprouted nicely. So thank you, Thomas. The roses are, oh, by the way, I don't know if you all are familiar much with YouTube, but you can leave a comment or a well, you can leave a comment or ask a question, I should say. But in order to do so to my videos, you have to have your own channel. So I hate being a shill for YouTube, but to get your own channel, it'll step you through the process. If you go to hit that you want to make a comment on a video, it'll step you through the process of setting up your channel. You have to have a channel in order to be able to ask a question. And it doesn't cost you anything. And of course, that's how YouTube makes its money, is in the long term, they're figuring they're going to sell you something eventually because you're a user. But again, it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost me anything to make these videos and put them on. In fact, that's how I started. I started by asking a question to a gardening video, which they never did answer, which kind of ticked me off, but then they're a popular channel. And so I figured, well, let me try making some videos. So here I am today. So enough about the commercial for YouTube. Oh, by the way, you can get money off of YouTube if you monetize. You have to have a lot of viewers. It's not my intent to ever monetize this channel. I just enjoy putting these videos together and sharing them. And I don't need to be paying any more taxes. I don't need more money. This is one of those things that I bought, one of the plants I bought this, I think I bought it last week. And what is the name of it? Zamioculcas zamiophilium. Zamiophilium. And in any event, a ZZ plant. I thought it was a cardboard palm, which is a form of cycad. Well, come to find out it's not. It's a ZZ plant. But I also took Latin for many years, and I started looking into the root of Zamiifolium, its second name. And Zami is another name for cycad, and folium means leaves, so it's cycad leaves. So whoever named it fell into the same trap I did because they thought it was a cycad. Another name for it is an Aroid palm. So now I have a Aroid palm. Of course, I have the sago palms and the ponytail palm, none of which are actually palms, but they're named such. The other thing I did look up, and I bought a spray for it. Some of you, especially in this neighborhood, are probably familiar with this weed. It is called Burweed. Has thorns in it. And I looked it up on the internet to be able to identify it. The first step in killing anything is first knowing what it is. And when you do look it up on the internet, it tells you all of the benefits of it. And it does have benefits. It is a nitrogen fixer, so it's like a legume. It'll help fix nitrogen into the soil, and it'll actually enrich the soil in which it grows. Spreads like wildfire. My lawn is not particularly luxurious in terms of grass, so I don't mind it having other things in it. However, these things have thorns. And I can't tell you how many times I've tried walking between the house and the garage to do laundry. I have my laundry in that room. And it's all in through this grass, so you cannot walk barefooted through here. The good thing is the pickers don't stay in the skin. I don't know what kind of pickers they have, but it is annoying, and so I will be spraying certain sections of my lawn. And I did look it up. You can, if you want to spray your lawns, you need to get, well, just make sure on the label, Burweed, B-U-R-R-W-E-E-D, is one of the covered plants. Usually atrazine-based chemicals will do the trick. I'm only going to be patch spraying because I don't mind, it'll kill all the other weeds but the grass. And I don't mind clover, and I don't mind wild strawberries. I just want to get rid of the burweed, so I'll do some spot checking of that. And it's also the time to be trimming your boxwoods. I trimmed these boxwoods yesterday, as well as that side. I'll have to do it probably 2 or 3 times a week. Yeah. It seems that way, 2 or 3 times a year. Oh, I'll show you while I'm back here some more of my Nico Blue hydrangeas. They have a little bit more white than they normally do, but I was not going to put any iron in the soil this year because nothing happened last year, so I figured I'm just going to let them do their own thing. And here you can see the alstroemeria. It is, I am about 5'9", and I'd say this is about, I don't know, about 4'8" or so. I mean, that is a tall plant. Again, it's all runoff because I fertilized my citrus tree earlier in the year. And I'll show you the close-up over here. All of my sedums are doing really well. There's some more caladiums. And here you can see the really tall, this one must be 5 foot tall, alstroemeria. And you can cut these back, cut the flowers, and they will last like alstroemerias you buy in the grocery stores or wherever in your florist shop. And there is my original cluster of toad lilies that I've been reluctant to split or do anything with because they seem to like that spot. So what I'm going to make an effort to do this year is to clean everything out around them to let them stay where they are and flourish. One little detail that it's only I will ever notice is to make this yard look bigger, since it really is a small yard. Each one of these boxwoods is smaller than the one before. So I wind up with a teeny tiny boxwood on that side and a big fat one on this side. So that when you walk this way, which is the way you walk in, it gives the illusion that the yard is actually deeper than it is. I obsess over those things. I did when I was planning the garden. Okay, this I stuck the stake here. I used to have another one on the other side, But this is a potato vine. It's another one of those pass-along plants. That was planted in the ground 3 years ago and still keeps coming back. And it has literally potatoes that hang on the vine that will eventually drop off, and wherever they fall, another vine will grow. They can be quite invasive. Oh, we lost internet this week. The construction at the street took out the fiber optic cable. And when I called the man to come and look at my Wi-Fi to see what was going on, the first thing he did was step on this plant looking for my Wi-Fi cable. But it is recovering. And this is a test, again playing musical pots. Trying to think. Lindy Lou is the one that recommended trying some of these plants here that I can't remember the name of right now, coleus. And I thought that was a nice combination. I've grown coleus in the past. It's been a long time. They do get devoured by slugs. So I figured I would try them here. Well, that's the only size pot I had. I wasn't going to buy a new pot just for that. But I'm going to try them here and see how they do. When they get taller, they'll really stand out more. But if the slugs eat them, I can always move them to another spot. Here is a bloom on this. That's a double bloom. Oh, there goes one from yesterday of my Rose of Sharon. It's the first time it's done anything in 3 years. I was almost debating whether to get rid of it. And these are my neighbor's Nico blue hydrangeas. Now that really does look good with the wild spiderwort. And in the front yard, the big news of the week is the gardenias are in bloom. They started last week, well, about Monday or Tuesday, with like one blossom. And that is Gardenia jasminoides, or Cape jasmine. Very fragrant. If you do take one in the house, what I usually do is dip it in water for for about a minute, because it has a lot of little flea-like bugs that like to live inside the blossom. And trust me, I brought one blossom in the house when they first started blooming, and it smelled up my entire house. By the second day, I wound up tossing the blossom out. I did reseed this section of lawn with a grass patch. I did not spray for weeds. And over here, let's see, you can see my tomatoes are still greening up. There's my okra. Oh, my 4 o'clocks are starting to bloom. Usually they don't bloom until 4 o'clock, but they are blooming now. Oh, I did want to mention, should have mentioned it last week. I don't know if you can see the blossoms on the magnolia. I had heard from watching Gardener's World that magnolia blossoms are edible. And so I did try a fresh blossom, and they are edible. It tasted very much like ginger. So even though it's edible, I think I would use it more like a flavoring than just putting it in a salad, or just enjoy it on the tree. Here you can see a lot more of the Cape jasmine. Look at these bananas. Those bananas are doing fabulously well. Those stalks stayed through the winter. I did not cut those back. And I did notice that it's getting a new shoot at the base. 2 new shoots at the base. Oh no, one's a weed. One new shoot at the base. That's typically what bananas do down here in a zone 8B. If you cut them to the ground, the original stalk dies and it'll send up a new stalk next to it. It's unusual for the same stalk to carry on from one year to the next. It is possible that this could have bananas. In past, I have had bananas. You do need bees for pollination, but the first few bananas on the stalk are going to make, regardless of the bees. The ones later on require pollination. I did notice in this, I'm not expecting it. However, I don't know if you can see it, but my fig tree has little figs. I wouldn't think the first year that it would make, but I will remain hopeful that maybe I will taste a fig from this tree. The other thing I did underneath this is I planted some zucchini. There's one zucchini plant coming up. There are 2 other clumps I put there, or spots where I planted them that haven't sprouted yet. And since I bought a whole packet of seeds, I replanted yesterday. Back here, there's not a lot new going on. I haven't reworked this bed yet because the hyacinths are still dying back. I like to let them go all the way down before I replant. And this is where I plan on putting that purple wandering dude. And this is the last of my Easter lilies. So things have been growing hand over fist. And I've been doing a lot of pruning. It seems like everything is happening at once, but that's always an exciting time of the year. So I guess for today, I will leave you with a shot of the little chickadee bathing in the bird bath, or at least drinking from the bird bath, and see how close I can get before he flies away. They're fairly tame for a small bird. Oh, he's going to go and eat now. Have a good day. Take care.